From Buffalo to Long Island, this is I-86 After Dark. Welcome back to I-86 After Dark. This is our exclusive interview with Darius Kasparaitis. And first and foremost, Casper, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm very
Absolutely.
excited.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. And we've been wanting to have you for a while, so we're happy to have you here. And what we wanted to do is just kind of talk a little bit about your career. You've done a lot of good things in the NHL, and I know you've had a lot of impact. Looking back at what you've done, first and foremost, who got you inspired to play hockey at a young age?
Oh, I grew up in a small town in Lithuania, and it was not really, Lithuania was not a very big hockey country. It was part of Soviet Union, so hockey was televised a lot on TV. We watched the USSR's team play and always win. So the hockey equipment inspired me. I love the way the hockey players look with equipment, with helmets, with skates, and it made me fall in love with the game right away. The moment I saw my neighbors wearing hockey equipment and going to practice, I wanted to play that sport.
That's
Well, I
awesome.
was gonna say do you remember when you got your first pair of skates? Because usually most NHL players we ever meet usually say they start skating when they're like 3 or 4 years old.
First time actually I started skating, I was 8, and my dad, my first skates were figure skates, and they were trimmed. The teeth was trimmed off, so it would be better as a hockey player. So my first skates were figure skates. So I stepped on ice when I was 8 years old, first time, and I remember expecting a lot of falls and basically not to know what to do. But actually, I was shocked that I skated good right away. It was like, God's gift for me. I remember stepping on ice and just skating. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then the only one issue I have, stopping left and turning left. But it took me, 2 to 3 years to master that part of skating. And otherwise, I was actually gifted right away.
Let's definitely put him in the category of fast learners for sure.
Yeah, if you really think, I first time I start skating at 8, and I play my first game for the like NHL, but Russian NHL at that time, Soviet the top division Soviet League. I was 16, so it took me 8 years from first time skating to playing on the highest level in Soviet Union.
That's
I
really
mean,
cool.
that is damn impressive, honestly. I'm not gonna lie.
I know I had a bright future until I came to NHL. Then everything went south.
Oh
I
no.
mean,
I was a
I mean,
superstar. I was like, Wayne Gretzky. But then suddenly I hit a couple of guys, and they realized, you know what, this guy's a good hitter.
right. I mean, I've been playing beer league hockey for about 25 years, and even I can't even skate at that level. 9 times out of 10, when I was 8 years old, I just fall right on my face.
My first coach was it was like one of the first guys who actually did power skating all the time. So he worked on skating every day. I hated it because all we did is skate, skate, skate. We used to go 7 o'clock in the morning before the school, and we skate, skate like for 1 hour, no pucks, and then go to school and come back, have practice, do 30 minutes of skating. And it was just constantly skating. He worked on skating, so it was me actually and Daniel Zubrus after me who made it to the NHL. We had the same kids coach who concentrated a lot on skating.
Wow, Dinah Zubris. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, my co-host is a Sabres fan, so he
Yeah.
knows a little thing or three
Good
about
player in
Dinah
his own
Zubris.
right. Yeah, great player in his own
Yeah.
right.
On
That's
Sabres
definitely for
fan.
sure.
On Sabres
Yeah,
fan. Yeah.
yeah. I
I'm
live here
sorry.
locally in the Buffalo area, so it's although I wish we've actually would have been in the playoffs sometime in the last 14 years, but that's totally a different story for a
Do
different
you guys
show.
ever made playoffs since I scored a Game 7 overtime goal against Hushwick?
We have not made the playoffs since Terry Pagula took the team. We have
I'm
not made the
joking.
playoffs.
Maybe I have to come to the team and change the luck.
Yeah, the only thing that's happened in that arena since he took over the team is we've gone through, I think, three GMs. We've gone through at least three or four coaches. We did get a new scoreboard this past year, so that's the one bright spot. But yeah, the fan base is not happy with the direction. But on the flip side, I think we finally do have somewhat of a good core we can build around. So, hopefully we make the move this year.
hopefully, yeah, make playoffs and have a Florida experience. I live in Florida now, and I see the team from the beginning. It took a long time, but now they're a very great franchise. Sometimes you have to
Yeah.
have patience and have the right people working for you. And I think, he knows what he's doing. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you guys have good success.
Yeah, definitely, and good to see the Panthers doing well too. And not sure if you know, you guys are getting a new scoreboard in the arena this fall.
Oh, cool! You're a scoreboard guy.
I actually did a proposal for one at one point for the Sabres, and they didn't take it. But it turned out the sizing of the screens, actually, the main screens ended up being the same. So I guess we made it work out in some way.
Oh, nice.
But I do keep up on some of the latest with that, and did hear you guys are getting a brand new board and everything, and it's pretty cool.
Cool.
So it's good to see, But no,
So that
good to
means
see you guys doing that.
the ticket price is gonna go up again.
Yeah, it did
Probably.
for us too. It did for us also. So, um, Bob, you had a question, right?
Yeah, I did actually, but I was gonna say before Tom was is that the last time the Sabres haven't made the playoffs was before Frozen was even a movie, or at least it was production in 2011. God damn it, I feel old.
2011. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Frozen. The reason I remember Frozen movie because I took the Disney cruise first time with my
Mhm.
kids, and we got stuck on a cruise for 3 days with bad weather. So
Oh,
the movie was out, so we watched Frozen like 20 times.
oh man,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
My niece loves that movie, and I know that's one of the things that she totally enjoyed watching a bunch of times. And actually, my sister and brother in law, they're his side of the family lives down in Florida also, so I know
oh
they
nice,
do travel quite a bit, and they're outside of Punta Gorda, so they're on the opposite
nice.
side of the state.
That's nice, nice area for the word.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
But the question I was going to ask before Casper was because you grew up playing in Lithuania and skating and all that stuff, and every player that plays in the NHL always has a player they looked up to. Was there somebody you grew up idolizing?
Oh, I grew up in the era when Russian Five was very popular, and I watched those guys play a lot on TV. And you always watch Russian team play, always win. So right from the beginning, when I moved from Lithuania to Dynamo Moscow, I looked up. I had people like Zinotolab Belidinov. He was one of my first coaches there, and on the main team with the men team. So also a guy who discovered me in Lithuania. He was a great hockey player, Valery Vasiliev. He were number 6 for the national team. He was, I think, two-time Olympic champion also. So I had a lot of, I idolized a lot of people. Slava Fetisov, Kasatonov. Speaking of defense, offense, of course, Makarov, Larionov, the guys I played with later in the beginning of my career. I played with all those guys. I was always starstruck playing with them and watching them as a kid, and I play on the same team, so it was cool.
That's
Awesome.
awesome though.
Awesome.
And I believe Tom has a question as well.
Yeah, so walk us through draft day. So, of course, I know it's always a big honor to get drafted into the NHL. How did you find out, and what were some of the things that you did when you found out that you were going to be making that jump to the NHL?
Listen, I grew up in the era that Soviet Union just fell apart, so I had no idea about draft, about anything. I knew NHL was one of the best leagues in the world. For me, my goal was to play for Dynamo Moscow at that time. So I made a national team. I played in '92 Olympics. We won a gold medal. '92 juniors, we won a gold medal. So I didn't expect. I kind of knew I was gonna get drafted, but I didn't know it was a big deal. I just wanted to, play on my team in Russia because I didn't know they're gonna let me go play if I even get drafted. So I remember when I had an agent already, he actually invited me to go to the draft, fly to Montreal, and I had no idea. I went to talk to some people, some teams. I didn't speak English, so I think we had an interpreter. Uh, and that's it. I remember only one good thing. My agent told me if you get drafted top 5, you get $20,000 bonus from this hockey card company. I was like, wow, $20,000. I'm like, this is a lot of money. So that was my hope, and lucky me, I got drafted number 5th overall. So I was more happy getting the money than I didn't even know what the Islanders, anything about Islanders. I knew that I knew the name of the team, but I had no idea where I'm going at all. I knew the Rangers, but otherwise, I was happy, of course. And then I didn't expect it to go to Long Island. Maybe 3 months later, I thought I was gonna play in Russia, and then maybe a year later, I go play there. And what happened? I started season in Russia, and suddenly October 2nd, I was already in Long Island, and I was expecting to go to the minors probably and get used to the country, to the game of North American game.
Yeah.
But 3 days later, I was playing first game of the season against New Jersey Devils, and the rest of it is history. Everything happened so fast. It was just 92 was probably my best year in hockey. Even I was in the beginning, but drafts, Olympics, NHL, beating Pittsburgh in playoffs. Just everything happened. 92, 93 season was awesome for me. It's. I don't think I had a better season after that.
Yeah, and
I
I'll tell
mean,
you that old barn was pretty cool to be in. 'Cause I've had the chance to do
Yeah,
it, and I've traveled there and got to see it once before they moved and into their current building. And of course, Bob here lives on the island, so he's been to the barn a bunch of times.
yeah.
I'm an Islander fan, so I was like, when I saw your name, I'm like, I gotta get Casper on here and get his opinion about the Islanders and all that. Because I have met a handful of players in the past who have said before they got drafted, like, where the fuck are the Islanders? And I'm just like, it's a team in Long Island, New York. You're gonna like it
Yeah,
here, trust me. And a lot of people within maybe 2, 3 years usually, grow to the style and they say, oh, it's very quiet, Nassau County or Suffolk County, wherever you live in that region, there's always a different opinion about, Long Island from players having to wear the blue and orange. And I just want to say thank you for representing the Islanders for the last 5, 6 years in your time there. Honestly, I appreciate
Listen,
it.
I love Long Island. I think Long Island. If I ever move back to New York, I would move back to Long Island. I think it's the best place to live. You have two shores. You have a South Shore. You have a North Shore. If you like fishing, if you like nature, that's the best place to be. I was just shocked because I expected when I came to when I landed in JFK, I thought I was gonna go like to actual city,
Right.
and not But then I was like, oh my god, like yeah, I actually came to Nassau Coliseum to a Marriott, and it was like empty. It was just like a building, the hotel, and a stadium. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, where's all the people? And then I realized that Long Island was Long Island, New York was New York Rangers. It was in the city. I started learning more and more. But I love being on Long Island. Listen, I love fishing. I remember, especially after my first 2 seasons, we never made playoffs. So in April, I was already fishing until for 5 months. it was the best time to be an islander. And then suddenly we got a fisherman logo, that matched my style, my lifestyle. So I was very happy.
Yeah,
Well,
well, definitely, I love the fishing side too, and it's fun. I mean, Long Island's a great place, and then where I'm from, upstate, I'm right in between Lake Erie and Ontario, so and literally,
Yeah,
I live 5 minutes from the Niagara River, so I was like, all right, I
that's
could go in
beautiful.
and do some fishing down in the lower river and everything, and it's a fun time. So absolutely grew up doing that too. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
absolutely. What I was gonna ask you is, when you were in Long Island, have you ever been to like Jones Beach or anywhere
Oh
like
yeah.
Montauk?
I've been in Jones Beach. I've been in Mon. I've been everywhere. I tell you a story. After my first season, I ended up on a Jones Beach Oak Inn. That was a bar on Oak Inn bar. So I ended
Yeah.
up with a bunch of guys. We're drinking some beers and a bunch of Islander fans sitting with us, and we're having a lot of good time. And this guy comes up to me and goes, "Are you Kasparaitis?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." He goes, "I fuck." He goes, "I fucking hate you." And the Ranger fans. And suddenly the brawl starts right in the bar. Everybody starts fighting, and the
Oh
security
man.
guy grabs me and goes, "Get out of here before you get arrested." I'm like, "I didn't do anything." Anyway, go leave. So they kind of kicked me out and told me to leave because cops came in, and I was like, "Oh shit, this rivalry is very serious."
Oh
That's awesome.
man, that's awesome.
That guy must have probably either been drunk or he was a Ranger fan just looking to
No,
stir shit
Ranger. Yeah,
up.
it was a Ranger fan. Of course, it was a
Oh
Ranger fan.
Of course, it was a Ranger fan. I mean, what
Yeah,
else
yeah,
is
they
there?
started all.
but then I played for the Rangers, so now I love both
Right.
of them. I love both teams, except the
Eh,
Flyers. I don't like the Flyers
Oh,
Oh
trust
no,
me,
I
we
agree
don't
with
either.
you.
and the
We
fans
don't either.
I
and
hate
the
Philly,
fans.
period.
Yeah.
And
Flyers are Philly's a
unfortunately,
nice city, but people in Philly, real fans in Philly, they're really assholes.
Yeah, we agree. Oh, we agree. We've dealt with it.
yeah, I can't stand Philly. I was actually berated by Eagles fans a couple of years ago because me and my wife went to a Bills Eagles game in Philadelphia, and the Bills lost that game in overtime to Philly, and I got flipped off by a 10-year-old at the public bathroom in
Yeah.
at the link, and I was just like, this is just embarrassing in general.
You know, it's the only one stadium in the country that have a jail in the stadium.
I was gonna say I remember hearing about that,
No, it's
and
true story. They have a jail. So if you break the law, they put it. They have a judge, everything during the game.
yeah,
So
they
you
take
go
you down into
in.
the basement or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what's funny? My best friend is an Eagles fan, and he's actually told me that story about the jail cell downstairs with the judge and
yeah,
all that shit at the
yeah.
Veterans Stadium. And the funny thing is, I remember Artie Lane, the comedian. He was a big white comedian in New York. And I remember he told a joke before the Eagles won their first Super Bowl 15 years prior. And he was talking so much shit about the Cowboys and all that stuff and the Eagles, about how they're such a bunch of drunk idiots. And one guy gets arrested, goes into the vets, and the judge goes up to him, throws the book at him, and says, "You know, this is a family place. There are children here."
Yeah,
And the next thing you
yeah.
know, I was like, I'm going to give you a sentence, but you have a chance to redeem yourself. Is there anything you want to say before I sentence you? So the guy is just standing in a horse stance and he's pissed drunk and he just stands up to the judge, takes the microphone, and just goes, Troy Aikman is a fag. And the whole court is just pissing all over the place. I was like, oh my God, this is
I
typical
know.
Philly.
Philly is funny. Yeah, they really passionate fans. I understand them. They love the teams and they really support. And they don't really give a shit about the visitors. You know, I had a guy from. I was playing a charity game a couple of years ago in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and honestly, the guy was wearing Flyers jersey and was yelling from the stands during a charity game. You know, I retired like a long time ago, and he was yelling, "Kasparaitis, you suck, you dirty." You know, I was like, dude, relax. It's a charity game. He's like, oh,
Right.
showing his fingers. I was like, oh my God, this guy is really crazy.
Well, that's Philly for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I should
Typical.
just go to Philly and do the show or something.
There we
Absolutely.
go.
Wear my jersey, actually. I got to do this. I got to fly to Philly during hockey season and wear my Kasparaitis jersey and go into the stadium and sit right in the middle of the stadium, see what happens.
Oh yeah, definitely. But speaking of your first season, because you played in 92, 93 with the Islanders, and your first season, you said it was the best one out of all the seasons. The one thing, and I was just a baby when this happened, so you make kind of,
Yeah.
refresh my memory on this, is the 1993 semifinals against the Penguins. It was either games 3, 4, or 6, somewhere in between. You took down Mario Lemieux, and that was one of the most iconic moments in Islanders history. Like at that time when you made the hit on Super Mario, did you feel momentum was shifting in you guys in that favor of that series when you took them down?
Well, not really. We actually we didn't expect to beat them right from the beginning. You know, we want to play hard. Our game plan was to play hard and just see if good things gonna happen out of that. And what happened. Mario actually, you can see the video. He cross checked me from behind,
Right.
and I flew into a board, and I'm like, "You serious, man?" So I got up and I just punched him right in, and he looked like he got knocked out.
Mm.
And but otherwise, we just I think we got lucky, and Glenn Healy was unbelievably hot, and we won. Game seven. We were up 3-1, and 2 minutes left in the game, and they tie. And I was like, oh my God, we're done for sure. And then in overtime, David Wallach scores that big goal. And I remember, I played with Mario after, and one time I remember Mario told me one time, this asshole, I just came out of chemo. I had a blood transfusion, chemotherapy, and he's going after me like a maniac. He tries to fight me. I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad. I didn't realize that Mario was dealing with a lot of health issues at that time.
Right. Right.
I mean, the beef was probably real at that point before you went to Pittsburgh, I imagine. You probably said to Mario,
Listen,
"Hey man, I'm sorry."
no, I didn't. I never say sorry because now probably I would say sorry because when I was crazy. But at that time, I just play the game. I want to win, and the bigger the star is, the more attention the other team wants to give you. So if you go after good big boys, the other teams, the other team stops playing. They want to chase you around, take penalties. That was most of the time my game plan. And going to Pittsburgh, that was a shock. The one team that hated me the most, that was the Pittsburgh Penguins and the fans at that time.
Hmm.
And I remember when I got traded, I told Mike Milbury, he was joking. I told him, listen, you're not serious. You turn me to Pittsburgh. I'm like, you know that they hate me there. And he goes, it's okay. You go there. You'll be okay. I was like, shit. And actually, was the best thing that happened to me. Pittsburgh was one of the best places to play. Fans were
Yeah.
unbelievable. In the 6 years, I had experience of the lifetime.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I had a chance to see a game in the old igloo before they closed that down. And I've been to the new arena a couple times, and I actually spent a little bit of time in Pittsburgh too. And I mean, they have a good fan base, just like you mentioned. And when you got traded to Pittsburgh, were there any, or actually when you played with some of your other teams as well, were there any major differences you noticed between them, whether it was on the island in Pittsburgh or anywhere else for that matter?
Well, I think each team, Long Island was in the beginning, first 2 years I had a blast because, we're winning and we made playoffs. So, and that was my, first 2 years in the league. So I was very, every game or every city was like a new trip. But then, going from Long Island when we're losing a lot, and Millbury is going bananas after every practice and every road trip. Going to Pittsburgh with all this star status, Lemieux, Francis, Jagger, Tom Barrasso, a lot of big players. And I remember going to the team, and I was so nervous. And the first practice, none of them are wearing helmets and shoulder pads. I was like, shit, these people are really, having a lot of fun. And then going on a plane for the road trip, playing poker, casino, it's like casino, everybody's playing, having fun. And it was, wow, this is awesome, So it was, we play a game and we had a lot of fun on the team, So it was a different atmosphere. And then, Pittsburgh went through some tough times, but still, each franchise, I think, has the culture built in from the previous players. So I think Pittsburgh always has this love hockey, have fun mentality. And Islanders, it's more like grinding and work hard, the identity team. And Rangers, of course, is a big market team, so it's a lot of media, a lot of expectations, and people don't have patience for you to have a good game. If you play bad, they would let you know. Especially media also let you know if you sign a big deal and you don't perform. They, I remember they had a nickname for me because when I started with the Rangers, I was minus 20 my first year. The season I started minus 20. I end up finishing season actually plus 7. But nobody wrote about me turning around. But they gave me a nickname, Casper Minus.
Oh, jeez.
So they kept my nickname for the rest of my Rangers career. If I had a bad game, they would call me Casper Minus. You know.
That's
So
brutal. I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
know. And I play in Colorado. Totally different. Different. I felt like I was in different league. Different hockey, different travel, and I felt a little bit. The team was a little geeky. They all watch Price is Right before practice. All this soap operas on TV. I was like, wow, a bunch of geeks. I thought, in the beginning. But I also play with the great players: Patrick Roy, Blake, Foot, um, Forsberg, Sakic. So
Yeah.
it was different, But I realized I was more East Coast guy, not the West Coast guy.
That
Very
sounds
cool.
about right. But I was actually going to ask you earlier about Pittsburgh. Like, how did you find out when you got traded? Do you remember?
First of all, the week before, we had meetings on a plane flying up to one of the preseason games, I think, or season games. I remember Mike Milbury called me up and told me, "Listen, Darius, I love your style. I love your heart. I love how you play. You will be here until I'm here, all the time. You're my boy." And then I was packing for the West Coast trip. I remember, and I received a phone call, and Mike Milbury told me, "I'm so sorry to tell you, you got traded." And I was say, "Mike, you serious? You're joking?" He's like, "No. It's for real." And I was crying. I really thought I gonna be Islander for the rest of my career, because
Sure.
it never happened to me before. I was chosen by Dynamo Moscow when I was a kid, so I played for Dynamo. Nobody ever sent me to a different team, and I played with Dynamo Moscow for almost 6 years until I came to NHL. So when I came to Long Island, and I think I already played my fifth season, people loved me there. I had a lot of jerseys, so I thought I'm gonna be here because the way I play and my popularity. So I'm gonna be here all the time. But unfortunately, I got traded, and I realized what happened. John Spano, the fake owner, basically traded me, and because Mario Lemieux was, I guess they were playing golf together, and Mario Lemieux asked for a favor. He needed a defenseman, and he needed me on his team. So John Spano told Mike Milbury to trade me, and being an owner, telling a GM or a coach to trade the guy, it's not gonna say, "Hey, are you crazy?" It's fine, So
Sure.
I think that's what happened. We have to ask Mike Milbury the true story, but I heard that's what's happening because John Spano bought the team with fake money, with monopoly money.
Yeah, I can't stand Mike Milbury. I'm sorry. I mean, I know some players had some sort of connection with Mike Milbury, but a lot of people after you left absolutely hated his ass. I mean, trading for Alexi Asher, for Jason Spezza, Bill McCall, Zdeno Chara, shoot me in the head. Uh, Roberto Luongo was one guy he traded. Todd Bertuzzi was another. I just remember, and ever since you left, it's like it was just this big avalanche of like shit, and basically turned the Islanders into a laughingstock at that point. And I was just like so embarrassed that all that happened. And I was like, I liked you, when you're here. Of course, I always will. But it's like afterwards it just didn't fit right after. It's just
I
went
don't know.
downhill.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of first round draft picks were traded away, and I don't know what was the idea of the team. I think the team was actually with a new talent coming in. I think it was a lot of Brian McKay, Bertuzzi. I think we just needed the time to play together. But suddenly everybody got traded away. We brought Wendell Clark, which was a great acquisition. But
Yep.
Wendell Clark didn't want to play after the Maple Leafs in a team that loses all the time. So he was not really checked in full time. And, we had Magic Schneider. We had a lot of guys going through the Islander system. But apparently, nobody had patience to wait. So
No. Not
we had a lot of trades happening those days.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that he kept the core together, and because everybody's asking, would the Islanders ever be competitive within that 5-10 year window if they kept the core together? Me personally, I probably would have said yes, but I don't know if it ever came to fruition. But that's well, you're never going to be an answer we're never going to be given because you just traded everyone away like candy.
But think about it, if we had kept the D, me, Dino Chara, Brian McKay, Brian Berard, you know, two more D, Vladimir Malakov, if we brought veterans and pretty good, core of players, Ziggy Palfi, forwards Bertuzzi, power forward, we had a lot of, good players going through the system, but I guess every team, has different goals, and Luongo in the net, it would be awesome, But I think most of the guys who moved out from Long Island had a great careers.
I believe that 100%, no
Some of
question
them
about
had
it.
a Hall of Fame career, so it says a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe you have a question, Tom.
Yeah, so of course one of the things that you're well known for is your hard hitting style, and that's one of the things I love. A lot of those things that you did back in the time that you played. Did any team ever ask you to tone down your physical approach to hockey throughout your career, or did they say, Casper, do what you do best?
Good question. Because when I got traded to Colorado, I thought I got traded at the end of the deadline, so it was for playoffs basically. And I remember when I came to Colorado, they really want me to play stick on puck most of the time. They want me to hit, but they told me tone it down a little bit, don't run around and hit people. Try to stay position hockey, and most of the time we like you to play stick on puck and maintain guy in front of you. The way when you go hit somebody, you don't lose the balance, and we end up facing odd man rushes. So I remember that I was like, why would the guys trade me for me if I cannot play my style of game? But I had a good experience. I learned a lot in Colorado. I learned a lot about different things, and that was one team actually didn't really want me to play physical as I used to play for the other teams I played.
It's an interesting perspective. It's like
Yeah.
if you can't even live up to your full potential, then what was the point of trading for you?
I don't know. I remember, yeah, they were telling me, especially Patrick Roy used to tell me, don't chase around and hit people. I want you to be like right next to the net and corners. So I want you to play stick and puck.
Right. Yeah, and that was like one of the big things. I mean, I remember some of your early games. I mean, you would be in the corners, you'd be in the dirty areas, you'd be handling business and taking care of things and
Yeah.
doing what you do best. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about your style from back at that time is you were not afraid to do that. And
Listen, I'm 53. I can even play stick puck right now.
yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because even today's game now it's like there's so much more emphasis on the speed and the skating and the handling, but there's that less of that emphasis on the physicality, and it's like I miss that. Yeah,
Listen, I would have blast this time this year. Like I probably get suspended maybe a couple times, but I would get a blast hitting people right now because nobody even
nobody will fight back.
have no. They don't even heads up. They're always skating with their heads down and be like, "Oh my god, this kid will be." I don't know. Well, it's different game, and the game is fun. Like fun to watch. I love it. Well, when playoff starts, it's more hitting, and that's why I love watching playoffs during the season. But when I play, I always want to hit. Like hitting was for me a passion. I knew that,
Yeah,
especially if I play at home, if the big hit would get the fans going, they would go crazy, like a big goal. So some big hits will be a game changers. So I even right now when I play hockey for fun, if I don't think if I had my knee problems and shoulder problems, I would be probably still hitting people for sure, or hip checking people for sure.
I
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, and I love the old school way of playing that physical style. So that's definitely how I was brought up and always loved it, and I still love it. So
I think it's gonna get back. It's gonna come back. Well, eventually you're gonna see more hitting in hockey again.
I mean, I hope you're right, man, because I feel like the NHL has been really trying to water down on hits and fightings, and obviously, post-concussion issues from, injuries and players and stuff like that. I know the intentions in there are good, but I feel like some players respond differently to these percussions. You know what I mean? Like everybody
Yeah.
has different ways of reacting to it.
I think you really, when I was a kid, the first thing they taught me, keep your head up and hit the guy with the head down. So you, right from the childhood, you learn if you're gonna have your head down, you're gonna get
Yeah,
basically hit hard. So you always had a head on a swivel. You always knew, not all the time, but most of the time you try to avoid or be ready for the hits. I think today's hockey, you're not allowed to hit until I don't know what age, maybe 15 or 14. So guys don't really learn the physical aspect of the game, and some kids if they start hitting at 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, they play men's hockey already. So you can get, really injured if you don't really teach the kids from the beginning to keep their head up and know that hockey is a physical game.
right.
absolutely. But because you mentioned that one day the NHL would come back and bring back physical hitting and fighting and all that stuff, which is awesome to hear. But if there's one guy in the league who I currently think would actually fill up that potential or at least pass the torch to is Matt Rempe for the New York Rangers. I think that guy, I hate his ass just because he's such a physical caliber player. And he kind of reminds me of you in a sense. And it's like, he's this big, gigantic 6 foot 3, 6 foot, forward, and all of a sudden he's going out there like a fucking bulldozer and
Yeah.
just ramming these people over. I'm just sitting there. And it's funny because I saw him play at MSG back in January, and I said, man, this guy's got skill. Even though he's a big guy, he's a big kid, and he's just getting started. And I'm just saying to myself, if he's going to be with the Rangers for the next decade, I'm going to hate it because of the idea. I would love for him to be on the Islanders, but
Yeah.
Ranger fans, they deserve their grinder, their enforcer, and Rempe, I think, is going to be the guy.
Yeah, he plays with a passion, and it's not like running around. He really plays the game with a passion. And when you have guys like that, and you start appreciating them, fans, media, so other guys on other teams they're gonna take the same roles. And that's the reason. I was not really like I played physical games since I was a kid, but I was taught to play more finesse game, passing skills because I grew up in a different system. But when I came to NHL and I started hitting people, I realized how appreciated it is to make a nice hit. People will go bananas and you'd be like, wow, it's like, for the guy who cannot score, plays defense, big hit is like a bonus, you know.
Yeah.
You like people remember you most of the time, like, oh, this, you know. And I remember talking to a lot of fans after my career, and they say we used to go to watch games just to see if you were gonna hit somebody, you know. That's
Yeah.
it.
But I actually do have an interesting question because you retired in '07 or '06, whatever that one of
Yeah,
those
it's 7.
2 years, and then after a while you settled in and you said, you know what? I want to get back into the game. What about coaching, for example? So we found out, I didn't know about this until like yesterday or 2 days ago, is that you apparently coached in the KHL with SKA St. Petersburg. So what are some differences between being a player and then being a coach?
It was hard. I just retired with the same team, so I became a coach the next season. So all the guys that I coached, I was not a head coach, but I was assistant coach. But still, all my buddies, you know, that I go out and have a couple drinks, now I have to be a coach. So it was very hard. They're very manipulative. They always ask me to ask questions about, you know, things from the head coach. So it was hard for me. I didn't like it. I actually loved it. You know, when one of the players would get injured, defenseman, I would dressed as a, you know, D and practice with them. So in the beginning it was hard. And one of my big mentors, Vladimir Yurzinov, he was one of the greatest coaches from Soviet and Russian system. He told me, you cannot never coach anyone as long as you're not going to kill the player in you. If you're going to think as a player and always want to be a player, you cannot be a coach. Coach has to be a teacher. I think right now, you know, lots of time went by, and now, of course, I will approach differently. You know, I will approach as a teacher now and share my knowledge and help young people to succeed. You know, and do things that maybe I wish somebody told me not to do, you know, when I play, to listen more. And coaching is fun, but it takes time. It's very hard to move in from playing to coaching. I think anybody can tell. It takes a couple of years to adapt because it's so hard to kill. You know, you always want to play. Like, I love hockey. That's why I play almost twice a week because I love the game, you know. I just want to play. Even if I'm hurting, but I still, the trash talk, the making fun of somebody. No, I just listen.
Yeah.
I'm skating with now
Yeah.
NHLers, the young NHLers. You know, Lee Shunov from Chicago, Kaliyev from Ottawa Senators. One guy plays in for the Sharks. I forget his name. The other guy plays for Nashville. And they told me yesterday, say, can you come more often because it's so much more fun when you're around. Think about it, because I talk shit all the time. You know,
Right.
I told this guy Kali, if he lost the puck a couple of times, I said, listen, dude, you don't have to have a puck. You play for Ottawa Senators. You're probably gonna not touch the puck for the rest of the season. You know. And in the beginning, they thought I was serious, but then they realized that I have a good sense of humor. You know, all-time hockey sense of humor. So they love having me around. And you know, I try to teach him, tell him some, you know, especially the guys at D. I try to give him some advice, you know, because even when I played the game when I was younger, I saw the game differently. You know, it was more speed, more dump and chase because you have so much energy. But when you got older, you see the game differently because you slow down, then you kind of, you know, then your vision and your experience kicks in. So right now, when I see the young kids, I try to explain to them, you know, the things I do. It's like you can do those same things. You don't have to wait 20 years. You can start working on them right now. So that's what I'm actually trying to do. I try to do the mentorship program with the young players, the way they can talk to me not only about hockey, they can talk to me about life experience because I have a lot of experience in life with you know, dealing with addiction and with a lot of things that I dealt through my career. So I think if somebody, you know, wants to needs help or wants to talk to me, you know, I'll be there. I'll be available.
That's
That is
awesome.
awesome.
That's
Do you play
awesome.
beer league hockey though? I'm curious.
Sometimes, if I want to, I don't play in the leagues. I play more in the open hockey because last time I played in the league, I got suspended, so I don't play anymore because it's hard. Because people, you know, want to challenge you. You know, when you're 50 and a 20-year-old wants to fight you, it's just not a smart thing to do. So we have this group of guys via WhatsApp. We make, you know, we plans. We pick the teams. I usually pick the team that's better, the team who can pass the puck, and we play games. You know, called lunch hockey, not beer hockey.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't. I personally don't blame them. It's like if you're on the same ice with Darius Kasparaitis of all people, he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna fuck with that guy. He's been in the NHL long enough. Nah, he's good. I'm fine where I am.
Listen, I was suspended one time from lunch hockey.
Really?
I kind of I got upset with this guy. I kind of pushed him, and I didn't realize how strong I was. So they suspended me for 2 weeks. But then they called me after 1 week, told me to come back.
Wow.
Wow, look at
Yeah,
that.
they felt
Look
bad.
at that.
Lunch hockey is like people don't even know how to skate.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that
You
is
need a
crazy.
fucking beer for that. I'll tell you that now.
yeah.
Right. Thinking about back with your time in the NHL, or even if you or even the KHL, were there any teams you always loved to play against, or were there any teams that you absolutely hated playing against?
Well, NHL, of course, when I was an Islander, I loved playing the Rangers because that was a big games. Same with Pittsburgh, we played the Flyers. There was a big, rivalry. But then, when I became the Ranger, I realized Ranger players don't give a shit who they play against because everybody hates the Rangers. So every game was like, I didn't feel the rivalry more than I felt on the other side. In Russia, I didn't play much. I played 2 years, but it was more like, at the end of my career. But, Avalanche also with the Detroit Red Wings playoffs was very intense. But probably my beginning of the year, beginning of my career when I was an Islander playing the Rangers was fun because, especially in National Coliseum, we always had a lot of Ranger fans there. There was a lot of fights, and that's the game you want to play very good because, everybody will remember games against the Rangers.
Oh yeah, Islander games are always intense. I mean, even though I hate their ass, I
Yeah,
always respect the rivalry because the NHL needs rivalries like that. Like with the Islanders and Rangers or Leafs Habs, the NHL needs those kind of rivalries. And I think with having a player like you who's played on both sides, I think that's a really good perspective to have because at least you understand the perspective from the Long Island side of things and then in the city side of things from both sides of the rivalry. And I would
yeah.
imagine that you don't have a preference of who you played for between the rivalry, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I think Islanders had the Rangers all the time, but the Rangers had the Islanders. Rangers have to play Devils. They had more as a Ranger. You have more rivals. As a Ranger, when you travel, you have a lot of fans that follow you, but also a lot of fans who hate you as a Ranger. It's like a New York Yankees. Maybe because of the New York
Mm.
team, original six. So I felt that every game you play, people hated Rangers.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I don't know when was the last time you've been to the Coliseum, or have you been to UBS Arena
Yeah,
yet?
yeah. I've been. I go every year. We have a very great relationship, alumni with new ownership with Malkin and Ledecky. They always invite us alumni to. They do alumni night, so we all get invited from different eras. They get us in nice hotels. They let us bring our families, and it's very high class. And I go a lot to the Madison Square Garden also with the Rangers. Sometimes Pittsburgh invites me to the games. I used to do I did a couple of Mario Lemieux fantasy camps,
Oh, cool.
but last year I got suspended. You know why? Because I hit Pierre Turgeon, my buddy,
Oh
during the
no.
fantasy
Oh my
camp. I run him
God.
over. I run him over
Oh.
right before he was inducted to Hall of Fame. I kind of told him, I gave him goodbye to the big leagues. I
Yeah.
don't know
Oh,
what
I
happened. I
remember
just hit him.
Pierre.
I just run him over like real NHL hit. He was so shocked. I remember he got up and he slashed me right in my ankle. And
Oh,
he told
jeez.
me, "What the fuck is the matter with you?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, Pierre. It was automatic. I didn't realize
Right.
that I'm gonna do this."
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember Pierre Turgeon from his days back in the Buffalo Sabres, and that
Yeah,
that Toronto rivalry is still a big thing, and even with how the Sabres are doing now, I mean, those are still intense games,
yeah.
and I remember one game I was with. It wasn't with Bob last year, but it was actually with one of our other mutual friends, and uh, during that game, there was a huge fight that broke out in the upper deck, and they actually had to close out one of the aisleways because someone just got their face bashed in, and there was a bunch of
Wow.
things going on, and there was at least 15 or 20 people I saw get thrown out. They those two teams still hate each other to this day. That Cross River rivalry. So,
That's good.
Yeah, it's funny. Do you remember the game in '93? Because I believe Pierre Turgeon was just on Spit and Chicklets, if I'm not mistaken, and he was asked about the hit from behind from
Yeah,
Dale Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
there.
and he pretty much came out and he confessed and be like, "Well, I didn't know you scored." Which I said to myself, "Well, I think he's full of shit because
Yeah.
I think he knew Pierre scored at that point, and he was just like, being a sore loser at that point." Like, do you remember how you reacted when you found out about the hit?
I was on the bench. I think the other guys were on the ice. But listen, I don't think he meant to hurt him. Sometimes out of when somebody scores, you just want to kind of push them away, with the frustration. I think
Yeah.
maybe that's what he tried to do. I don't think it was a freak accident. I don't think he intentionally wanted to hurt him. You just sometimes poor loser, you snap, and unfortunately Pierre got hurt. But listen, we all make mistakes, and it's a game. That's why I remember when I hit Eric Lindros. And then. We played together for New York Rangers. I remember he called me on the day of the free agency, July 1st at midnight, and they asked me to be his teammate. And it was kind of cool. The first thing he told me is, listen, it's no hard feelings. Hockey is hockey. You got me pretty good. I had my head down. It's my fault. It's nothing to do with you. And I really wanted to be my teammate. That was actually very classy and cool to receive the phone call from Eric Lindros.
Oh, I mean, that's a huge difference between you and Lindros, obviously, but
Yeah.
I don't think he feels the same way if it was like Scott Stevens or something like that.
You know what? I don't think, especially me, I don't never hold, Gino Wojcik died, but Gino Wojcik
right.
sucker punched me one time, big time. I took him fishing with Pavel Bure the summer of the season, basically. So we fished together on Long Island. Then the upcoming season, we're playing Islanders. I was playing for the Pittsburgh, and I hit Marius Chilkovsky, beautiful open ice hit. And Gino came from behind and just sucker punched me, for no particular reason. And I called Pavel that day. I said, Pavel, what the hell? This guy, I thought we were friends. And he says, Gino has no friends when he plays. So,
Oh yeah.
but I never, I understand, he did his job, but he did a lot of stupid things. But honestly, you have to let it go. We do crazy things when we play, and I still do crazy things right now. Sometimes I do such stupid things. I'm like, why, man? Why? Why do I
Yeah.
even talk shit? Like, who gives a shit? I'm playing lunch hockey. It's not like we're gonna get Stanley Cup or anything. It's just a competitive nature of I guess professional athletes. Any sports, person who really loves sports, they get passionate about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
hundred
big
percent
time.
right. 100% right on that. I was going to say, Casper, if you had to give advice to a young kid who wants to play in the NHL, and especially someone who loves that hard hitting style, what would you tell them?
Just be yourself. Don't ever listen to anyone. Be yourself. Work hard, and play the game that you love. If you love hitting, you hit. Eventually somebody will notice you and take your talent of hitting to the next level. The game is more about hitting. It's about skating, moving the puck. But if the passion, some guys love to fight, so some guys love to hit. So you have to be yourself. Never try to change or adjust because people think that maybe you're too crazy or you're too rough. It's a game. First of all, it's a game. It's a physical game. So in Russia they used to say only real men play hockey. They have a song about it. The pussies don't play hockey. That's what they say.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's
how they
true.
sing. Hockey only for the real men. Pussies don't play hockey. That's what they
Exactly,
in
my man.
Russia.
Exactly.
In Russia,
I
yeah.
would give you a
Exactly,
fist bump on that, man.
My kids play soccer. I love soccer. I love watching
Yeah.
soccer. I love Manchester City. I'm a big fan. But the things they do on a soccer field sometimes,
Mhm.
I would never like. When my kids try to simulate the injury, I scream from the stands, "Get up! Don't do this! You serious?" It's like, what, Dad? I'm like, are you serious? Are you really hurt? He's like, oh, okay. because of the culture, you know.
Right,
They
right.
watch YouTube, they watch games, they see people simulate the injuries, and I tell them, listen, if you get injured, you get injured, but when you fake things, you know, it's not nice. You look like an idiot.
Right, right,
Right.
right. It's like being on the ice. Hey, you take a puck to the face and you get stitched up, and you're right back out there.
Yeah.
It's one of
Listen,
those.
I honestly, I did some things during my career, but I drew penalties. You know, I pretend that, somebody hit me like, oh, and then I
Yeah,
look at the referee's reaction. If they worked out, that's perfect. If
right.
not, you look like idiot. I tell you the story. When I went to Russia at the end, in Russia, if you drop gloves, you get penalty right
Hmm.
away. So I'm standing in a face-off, and this guy, is like from different team, and I knew that he wanted to fight me, and I'll go, okay. When they drop the puck, well, let's go. So they drop the puck. I go like this. The guy drops gloves and wants to fight me. I'm like, ref, what the hell's going on? I don't want to fight him. So the guy gets the penalty, you know. So he starts yelling, "You a fucking pussy!" Oh, So he gets 10 minutes in game misconduct. He gets kicked out. He was so mad.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
Uh,
you are one of the most fun people we've had on here because
Thank
I
you, guys.
love your
Thank you for having
stories,
me. Yeah.
man.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it.
yeah, we would love to have you again sometime.
All right. Let me know. Text me. We'll talk
Yeah,
more.
Absolutely.
All
absolutely.
right, guys.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we appreciate you, and you're welcome back here anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. We loved you, man. So
Thank you.
definitely is an honor.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All
See you
right,
Have a
you're
later.
good night,
welcome.
Bye.
man.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.